Thank you so very much for coming. My name is Dr. Lisa McLean. I'm so proud to be the superintendent of our school district. This evening is special. One, because the sun finally went in. We're so happy about that. Two, because you are here for this momentous occasion. An occasion that began, thank you so much, before the pandemic, but did not get to take full effect until this evening. Part of our Board of Education's action, the motion they made and took action on, was to decide to make Mary Potter, upon closing it, a viable part of this community. And in doing so, they made a name change and decided that it would no longer be Mary Potter Middle School only. It would be Mary Potter Center for Education. And today it houses 4 different schools. Phoenix Academy, our Granville Academy. It houses our online school that took place this year. That is our 5-star virtual school, and our Cadence Academy. It is thriving, it is alive and well. But when you get a new name, all of the lettering must change as well. So you are here for the unveiling of the sign, and that will take place in just a moment as we bring you up to speed with the history of how we got to this point. We have several guests who are here with us. We will introduce those individuals to you in just a moment, and we will hear from some individuals who walked the halls last as students and administrators. Before we do any of that, won't you please join me as we rise for our Pledge of Allegiance. We will be led by Miss Courtney Williams. She's currently a student at our Granville Early College program. Mrs. Williams.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
At this time, there are so many wonderful guests in our audience, and our Board of Education is delighted to host this event. So I will begin with our Board of Education members. Will you please stand as hosts of this evening's event? Board of Education. All of our program participants will be introduced momentarily. We had a committee that worked tirelessly to assist our Board of Education with transitioning our school building. If you were a part of the committee that helped Mary Potter Middle School become the Mary Potter Center for Education, will you please stand at this time? If you were a part of the committee work, please stand. Thank you. If you are a former Mary Potter educator, student, or administrator, will you please stand at this time? Wonderful. Thank you so very much. Will our county commissioners and our county manager present, will you please stand? Thank you. We appreciate your support. All other elected officials, I know I saw Representative Terry Garrison here with us. Thank you so very much. Thank you, Mayor Sargent. Our National Mary Potter Club members, will you please stand? Excellent. Thank you so very much for your support continuously. Do we have any veterans with us this evening? Do we have any veterans? Will you please stand and be recognized? We thank you for your service. And I certainly have my executive team with us this evening. Many of them are standing, always on duty. Thank you so much, executive team members. Will you wave? And today would not be possible without the support of our technology team in the district. They are on duty as well. Russ is here. We have Ernie over here. They've done a great job. And our maintenance department with Granville County Public Schools under the leadership of Mr. Sam Clement. They're back there still working. We had Jack Blackwell, Todd Ellington, Marty Saunders, Cindy Compton. They did a fantastic job helping us prepare for today's event. And as you see right across the street, our sheriff's department is on duty, the police department, everyone has done a fantastic job making certain everything was in order for today. I just thank all of you for being here. Everyone is special, and it took all of us to get to this point. So we say thank you to each and every one of you. We won't prolong the evening any further. We have greetings from several important guests. The chairman of our Board of Education, Mr. David Richardson, will be first, followed by the chairwoman of our National Mary Potter Club, Incorporated, and a member of the Board of Trustees, Mrs. Annie Nesbitt, and Reverend Tony Cozart, the chairman of our Granville County Board of Commissioners, will follow her, and then our own mayor here in Oxford, Mrs. Jacqueline Sargent. In that order, they will bring us greetings this afternoon. Mr. Richardson.
Thank you, Dr. McLean. Good evening. We're so glad that you're here this evening. Glad it's cooled off so that you can enjoy this time together. One of the things that as we began pulling all this together some 2 years ago, what you see apparent in this campus is rich symbolism and rich history. You'll even see that in a lot of the aspects of tonight. The sign itself, they'll explain to you the symbolism there, but even the seats that you're sitting on this evening speak not only to our past, but our present and our future. There on the ends of those rows, you'll see bows that signify the different schools that have called this campus home or currently do. Orange and black for those Mary Potter, there you go. Then we've got teal and gold, our district colors that you'll see throughout the evening and throughout all of our events. Granville Academy, the first school to call this home after Mary Potter, is represented by our navy and red. Phoenix is there as black and gold. Dr. McLean spoke about Cadence Academy and our 5-star academy as well. And what is so exciting is that one of the chief goals of the board when we decided to move forward with this project was to make sure that this became a viable educational institution for our community for decades to come. It had already served this county so well, and so many of you so well, and we wanted to continue that tradition. And so tonight, again, as we celebrate the past, the present, and the future, what is really special is not only is this an opportunity for our community, but most importantly, this is an opportunity for the children of this community. So I want to thank all of those that came before us that have been part of Mary Potter, all of those that worked on the committee to help get us to today, all of those that put in work to today. The board thanks you for your work. The community thanks you for your work. And it will be interesting when we come decades again later to see what Granville County is doing with this campus, still influencing children with education. So again, I hope you enjoy this evening, and the board thanks you for being here this evening.
Good evening, Potterites and friends. It is my pleasure to come before you this evening for the unveiling of the new sign, the Mary Potter Center for Education. Over the years, Mary Potter has gone through many name changes, but it has always been our goal to keep the Mary Potter name in the forefront and alive as it relates to education. Thus, renaming the school the Mary Potter Center for Education gives us hope for keeping our legacy alive. Therefore, on the behalf of the Board of Trustees, and myself, I would like to thank all of those that have labored to keep the Mary Potter name alive. I would like to thank the design team who were involved: Elaine Brooks, Reverend Willie S. Garvey, Rosalind Green, Bessie McGee, Juanita Rogers, and the late Dr. Helen Otho, and members of the Granville County School System. Special thanks to all of you.
Greetings to each of you this evening. It is such a pleasure for me to be here. I've been looking forward to this day, and I just want to say to all of you here that I commend the Board of Education and Dr. McLean for the way they engage the community in bringing us to the point that we are today. As a little child growing up in this community, I always hear these comments about Mary Potter having been a boarding school, a school where trades were taught and all these things. And I never really fully appreciated how much somewhat ahead of its time this school was and how it met the needs of the community. So what really excites me today is as we come to unveil this new name, the Mary Potter Center for Innovation, for Education, I'm just so excited about what lies forth. We know what's here today. We understand that our children continue to have challenges, maybe that we don't even know of today. But right here at Mary Potter, history will be rewritten again. I'm confident that we will always have an open mind to meeting the unique needs of our students. So I'm just excited about what's to come. So on behalf of Vice Chair Russ May and to Commissioner Hinman, who are here, and all the members of the Board of Commissioners, we look forward to working hand in hand with the school board as we go forth to make this always be a place that someone is talking about just how special Mary Potter has been, how it is, and how it will be in days to come. I greet you and I thank you so much for being a part of this special day.
What an honor it is to be here today to welcome you all to this event on behalf of the City of Oxford and the Board of Commissioners. And I have to say that Commissioner Cozart and I have a thing that I don't really like to follow him because he always speaks so much more eloquently than I do. So there's a piece of me that doesn't even bother to try when I know he's come first because he always seems to nail it just perfectly. That said, for me, when back in the days, in the 90s, my kids went through Mary Potter School, and it was just part of the fabric of their lives and their educational experience, as at that time, West Oxford was K through 2 and it's second grade, and I think Cradle was 3rd through 4th, and then Mary Potter was 5th and 6th, and then on to Northern Granville Middle School. So this was just a great place that my kids could walk to and provided them with a great education. But then when I had the fortune to be elected to office, then I started to be invited to a lot of different events and come across a lot of different people, and the extraordinary history of this school became apparent to me. And it was absolutely, for me, breathtaking to read about some of the educators that were here that passed on and what they taught, the standards for excellence that they had, and particularly when you think of the timing and that there wasn't a lot of support for educating the African Americans who taught the students, nor the students, and the accomplishments of this school at that time and the legacy that it gave this city and the county. And when I read about the reunions of the Potterites and the National Mary Potter Club and 1,500 people coming together to celebrate the history, it is breathtaking to me. And so it's a tremendous honor for me to be here today. I am thrilled that Mary Potter closed as a standard middle school, lives again as the Center for Education, and along with those who spoke before me and Commissioner Cozart, that it will breathe and continue to breathe extraordinary life and excellence into this area. We have so much to celebrate, and I just thank you for allowing me to be here. And on behalf of our city, we hope this institution continues on to live strong for decades and years, eternities to come. Thank you so much.
We thank each of you for the greetings. Now we will travel down memory lane briefly. We will have a historical perspective by Reverend Floyd Greenwood. Following Reverend Greenwood, we will have an educator's reflection by the final principal of Mary Potter Middle School, our very own Mrs. Brenda Williamson. And then we will have a student's perspective, and his reflection will be from Mr. George Montague. And George was a student who served on the planning committee, as did our principal. We will come in that order. We will begin with Reverend Greenwood.
Special guests, friends, Potterites, I greet you. It's an absolute joy to stand before you on such a special occasion. My name is Floyd Greenwood, and I grew up just down to here there in the class of 1970. I spent a lot of times running around this ground as a kid, as a teenager, and Mary Potter was a strong impact in my life. But when you talk about Mary Potter, you've got to go back to its roots. And I'm going to do that, and I'm going to do it very briefly. George Clayton Shaw, the founder of this great institution, was born in 1863 to parents of Matthew and Mary Shaw in Lewisburg, North Carolina. A great student, finishing high school in 1886, he attended Princeton University to obtain a degree in divinity. While at Princeton, he met a gentleman at Princeton being a Presbyterian institution, a great student Shaw was. He met another gentleman who would be a mentor in his life. He would do some amazing things in guiding that time George Clayton Shaw to great heights. That instructor was Dr. Timothy Darling. George Shaw transferred to Auburn Theological Seminary to complete his divinity degree. Like I said, Dr. Darling was an inspiration to him. George Shaw attended Albany until 1888. On break from school, he came to Oxford, North Carolina. Getting here, he was on a mission. He had a dream, a vision, to open a school for African-American children. There was one Presbyterian in Oxford at that time, and she attended Oxford Presbyterian Church, Mrs. Harriet Howell, who lived on Raleigh Street at the time. Between the two of them, they gathered 75 individuals in Oxford. And on that first Sunday service, 75 members came. They had great church. The church was flourishing. But at that time, George Shaw had not completed his degree. So he returned to Auburn to complete his studies. He did so, and in 1890, he completed his studies at Auburn, receiving a doctorate of divinity. Something else happened in his life in 1990. He met the second Mary in his life, his future wife, a young lady from Penn Valley, Pennsylvania, Mary E. Lewis, and they were married. Coming back to Oxford in 1890, the two of them, Dr. and Mrs. Shaw, came back to complete their work in the church. When they got back, they found some bad news. The church had been closed. The people in Oxford that just not want a black Presbyterian church to flourish, so it closed. Dr. Shaw, being the kind of individual he was, he wrote a letter to his mentor, his teacher, his dear friend, Dr. Timothy Darling. Dr. Darling in that turn contacted a young lady who was secretary of the Freedmen's Bureau, Mrs. Mary Potter. Between the two of them, they put $300 in an envelope and sent it back to Dr. Shaw, saying, buy a church, buy land and build a church. And that's exactly what they did. The church was flourishing in honor of his beloved professor, his mentor. The church was named Timothy Darling United Presbyterian Church. Notice I said united, because at that time the churches were split. The black churches were under the auspices of the United Presbyterian Church, and the whites were under the Presbyterian Church of the USA. But later they would merge together. But in 1890, the church began working and doing great, flourishing in this city. But his other dream of bringing education to the students of Oxford was the next mission. His wife and he started to teach students in the church. When the weather got bad, roads got bad, some of the girls would stay over. They outgrew that. They outgrew it. The church was growing, the school was growing. At that time, they decided to build an administration building where I'm standing right now. The administration building housed the offices of the administrators and classroom buildings and an auditorium on the second floor. Across the street was Pittsburgh Hall, where the guys stayed, and there was a hall for the students to stay. Mary Potter flourished. In academics, the arts, our band was exceptional, drama, the culture. We did quite well through the administration of Dr. George Clayton Shaw. Dr. Shaw worked at the institution. In 1936, Dr. Shaw died in 1933. In 1936, Dr. Herman Davis, a graduate of Johnson C. Smith Seminary, came to Mary Potter to be its principal and the pastor of Timothy Darling. In 1952, the school was consolidated under the state system. Mary Potter still did quite well in the academics, in the sports arena, and all that we accomplished. Mary Potter has been a great institution to all of us. I remember very vividly, my daddy kept me, my mom and father kept my life centered mainly in three places: Timothy Darling Presbyterian Church, Mary Potter School, and baseball. A lot of my days were spent running around, doing all the kinds of things that young people do. I'm thankful, I'm proud that the Board of Education, the commissioners, and all of those who had a hand in keeping the dream of Dr. George Clayton Shaw. And I don't know if I mentioned this or not, that name, the third Mary in Dr. Shaw's life was Miss Mary Potter, who the school was named after. So that's the 3 Marys he had in his life. I appreciate you inviting me. I hope I've given you a brief history of Mary Potter. There's so much more. But Candy told me you don't give a preacher a mic. I've enjoyed it, and good day to all.
Good evening, everyone. I am so thankful to be here this evening. I'm telling you, I have a lot of memories here. I was assistant principal, and in 2018, I was named the principal. And little did I know that I would be the final principal. But it's such an honor because so many of my own families attended Mary Potter, or they even taught here at Mary Potter. And it's great to look out and I see Paul and I see Jocelyn. They were part of my staff, and we had so much fun that year together. And I see 2 of my awesome students that were part of the team as well. I'll tell you, when I think about that year, we didn't do anything any different. We stayed focused on academics. We were committed to excellence. And that's what we're still focused on to this day. When I think about when the school year begun, as my first year as the principal here, one of the fondest memories I have was the Ram Bash event. We had a big Ram Bash cookout, and that was a great way to set the stage for this connection with the school and the community and families and friends. And another fond memory I have is when we used to celebrate Ram Pride. We still love wearing that orange and black. And any time we could celebrate Ram Pride, we did. Whether it was at an athletic event, whether it was at a band and chorus concert, or if it was the staff celebrating Fat Friday. We love to eat. And so when I think of the final memories of my time here as principal at Mary Potter, I think about the day that we went out in the front of the building along with the National Mary Potter Club, and we planted a tree to commemorate our last year together. And that symbolizes to me all the seeds of knowledge and learning experiences that we embedded in each and every one of the students that walked the halls of Mary Potter throughout the years. So I'm telling you, I find it quite fortunate and feel so very blessed to be part of this rich legacy. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm proud to be speaking as a representative of the last promoting class in Mary Potter Middle School. I came here by way of Stovall Shaw Elementary School, where I had been for 6 years. Changing schools was a big adjustment for several reasons. I could no longer leave home 3 minutes before school started and make it by the tardy bell. Besides the location and the longer drive, Mary Potter brought changes of getting to know a new school building, new teachers, and new classmates. We've had some interesting teachers too. One had a 4-foot tall stuffed bear and a green commode in her room that she used as a chair. Some might even go as far as to call them crazy, but their unique personalities and teaching styles stick with me the most. It made school very much enjoyable. I learned not everyone processes information the same way, and I feel that it helped me become a better student. I also enjoyed meeting new classmates, many of which I still have friends today in high school. Some of my favorite memories of Mary Potter were playing football and baseball for the school. Being a part of a team and representing the school kept me excited and wanting to learn. My 8th grade year, our football team went 7-1 on the season, with the only loss being in the tournament championship to Franklinton. Win or lose, my time here will always hold a special place in my heart. Mary Potter has played a big role in the development of who I am today, and I wish for all those who work and learn here continued success in the future. Thank y'all.
Thank you for those reflections. All of the memories were fantastic. And now the moment you've all been waiting for. I would like to ask those involved in the official sign unveiling to please head to the sign at this time. This group will be led by Mr. Leonard Peace. Also on this team is Mr. Elijah Strader, Miss Rosalind Green, Miss Juanita Rogers, and they are part of the National Mary Potter Club. Please report to the sign at this time. On this sign, ladies and gentlemen, you will find a beautiful blend of letters from the past. Yes, we maintained some of the letters from the sign that was here originally. And we've now blended it with new metal letters signifying the future of this site, depicting modernization, vibrancy, and new trends for the future. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the new sign. The sign will be illuminated at night. We invite you to drive by in the evening. The shrubs were removed and new landscaping done specifically so that you may see the lettering on this sign. I'd like to introduce a few individuals who are here from our maintenance department, and yes, they are hiding from you. They did not want to be seen, but if you'll just wave your hands. Not going to wave their hands. But if you see them as you're walking around, please know they worked very hard to accomplish the task of finding a nice blend and balance to maintain the history and find the future. I think they did a nice job. Let's give them another round of applause. At this time, I invite to the microphone our two board members who led the charge of representing our Board of Education on the Planning and Design Committee. We have Mr. Leonard Peace and Dr. Tom Houlihan. Please come to the microphone at this time.
Good evening, everyone. While Dr. Houlihan is coming this way, I would just like to thank everyone for coming out this evening and for the opportunity to say a few words about the unveiling of this new sign and renovation of our school here. It's like a new day. You know, I was looking at my commencement program. I graduated from this school. I think I saw one or two of my classmates here in May 30th, 1960. And I'm probably standing in one of my classrooms from that time. but anyway, I spent 7 years here. Of course, it didn't take me 7 years to get out of high school. I started here in 7th grade. but it's been a real joy to be a part of bringing this school, in my words, back to life. Because it was at a point at one time where it wouldn't have been what it is today. If it wasn't for the opportunity to bring it back to life and have all of the schools that we have here today, which means that Mary Potter will live on for a long time. When I graduated from here in 1960, I'd never envisioned that I would be here doing this today. But it's been a real inspiration to me to come back and do this. I pulled out my high school diploma. If you think back to 1960, it's getting pretty old. Of course, I was a real young man when I graduated from high school. But seriously, I was the youngest person in my class. I won't talk about how old that was. You know, I was the youngest person in my class, so everybody that graduated was 6 years older than I am. But it's been a real pleasure, and I won't take up a lot of time, but it's just all the memories. My first class here was in the kitchen of one of the old buildings that was across the way a little way. And, you know, we used to get teased about learning in the kitchen. But it was a real joy for us. As I look back on it, it was something that really made me who I am today. The teachers I have, I can remember most of them from a long time ago, but they were inspiration. They inspired me, and they only had one thing in mind, and that was Leonard Peace was going to learn something every day he came to school. And today I really appreciate that. And I'm not going to be long. I'm going to finish now, and I'll tell Tom Houlihan not to be long either. Thank you.
Well, I'm honored to be here, but Mr. Peace, you wouldn't want to see his grades because he may have been the youngest, but he may have been the slowest. But no. Seriously, I'm honored to be here. I'm honored to be here and just take a couple of minutes. As a person moving down here from Indiana and eventually settling in Granville County, it was a shock to come, but it was a wonderful time. And I want to tell you two people who made a real difference in my knowledge about this school. You all remember Hubert Gooch. He was principal here when I became superintendent, and Leela Eaton. And those two gave me an education about this school that you cannot imagine. And I won't go through any more just general stuff. You've been down memory lane. But I thought about what would be a few descriptors to help explain or describe or whatever this school. And the first one that came to mind was admiration. You can go all over the country, all over the nation, all over the world, and you keep hearing about somebody who graduated from Mary Potter, what they were doing, presidents of organizations and schools and that kind of thing. And the admiration that I heard from Hubert and from Leela and from others has stuck with me all these years. To have that level of admiration is certainly not something you find in many schools. The second one was level of expectations. There is no doubt, I heard more about high expectations when Mary Potter is mentioned than anything else. When you talked about Mary Potter, you talked about what was expected, what had to be done, and what happened if you didn't do it. And I think many of you understand that. Leonard does, especially because he was always in that category. But high expectations, so important. And then finally, the word that comes to mind is love. The way people feel about this school, the way people love this school, the symbolism of love equals Mary Potter. People, as I mentioned, from all over love this school. Through good times and bad times and ups and downs, people stayed with this school because I would just say Mary Potter stands as an example where love trumps hate, love trumps frustration, love trumps anger, and for all those reasons, I think the best way to describe this school is how much you loved it and how much she loved you. Thank you.
Thank you all so very much. Everyone on the program, we sincerely appreciate your words, your comments, the inspiration you leave us with as we move forward. For your attendance today, it is noteworthy as we transition this school to a new season. Thank you so very much for coming. There were two individuals who played extremely instrumental roles in hanging in there with us through the pandemic and getting us to today. And I would like to offer special thanks to Miss Juanita Rogers and Miss Rosalind Green. Thank you so very much. You both did an extraordinary job. So that concludes this evening's celebration. Thank you so very much for coming. We have for you some refreshments in our CTE food trailer. We're excited about the trailer, so please head over. Ms. Angie Salisbury is here with us. Our child nutrition program participated in providing those. It's still warm, so please head over there to do that. And will you all please join me in thanking our great job. Thank you so very much. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you for coming. Goodbye.